When I think about workforce planning today, I no longer imagine it as a simple administrative exercise where human resources counts how many people the company has and how many people it needs. That way of thinking belongs to a different business world. Today, workforce planning has become much more strategic, much more human, and much more connected to the future of the organization. In the past, many companies use workforce planning mainly to answer practical questions. How many employees do we have? How many do we need? In which departments? With what salaries? Under what kind of contracts? Of course, those questions still matter. A company still needs to know whether it has enough people to operate. But in the age of digital transformation, artificial intelligence, and innovation, those questions are no longer enough. The deeper question is, what are our people truly capable of doing today, and what will they need to be capable of doing tomorrow? That is why I like to begin with a very simple idea. An organization doesn't transform digitally just because it buys technology. A company can buy software, platforms, artificial intelligence, tools, cloud systems, automation systems, and data dashboards. But if people don't understand how to use them, if they are afraid of them, if they don't trust them, or if they are not trained to integrate them into their work, then the transformation remains superficial. Real digital transformation happens when people are ready to use technology with purpose. So, when I talk about workforce, I understand as the systematic process of analyzing, forecasting, and planning the supply and demand of talent inside an organization. In simple words, it is the process of making sure that the company has the right people with the right skills in the right roles at the right time. But I would add something else. It also remains making sure that people are not left behind when the organization changes. This is very important because workforce planning connects business strategy with human capital decisions. It is not just an HR document. It is not just an internal report. It is a strategic management process. If the company wants to expand internationally, it will need certain skills. If the company wants to use artificial intelligence, it will need certain skills. If the company wants to innovate, improve customer experience, automate operations, or become more sustainable, it will need certain skills. Strategy and talent cannot be separated. In practical terms, workforce planning usually begins with a business strategy. First, I need to understand where the organization wants to go. Then, I need to analyze the current workforce. Who works here? What do they do? What skills do they have? What experience have they accumulated? What knowledge is visible and what knowledge is hidden? After that, I need to identify future workforce needs. What roles will become more important? What capabilities will be essential? What tasks may disappear? What new responsibilities may appear? Then comes the identification of skills gaps. Finally, the organization must decide what to do: develop people internally, redeploy employees, hire new talent, redesign roles, or restructure some areas. The key point is that workforce planning helps organizations avoid reacting too late. Many companies only react when the problem is already visible. They cannot find digital talent. Employees resist with new technologies. Productivity decrease, or competitors move faster. Strategic workforce planning allows leaders to anticipate change before change becomes a crisis. This leads me to an important shift: the movement from a headcount planning to skills based planning. Traditional workforce planning asks, how many employees do we need? Skills based workforce planning asks a better question: what capabilities do we need to achieve our future strategy? This distinction is very important. Imagine a company that says, we have 50 people in marketing. At first, that sounds like a solid team. But then we ask, how many of those people understand data analytics? How many can work with AI assisted content creation? How many understand customer journey mapping? How many can use marketing automation tools? How many can interpret digital behavior and translate it into a strategy? If only 5 people have those skills, then the organization has serious skills gap, even if it has many employees. That is why I like the phrase job titles tell us where people sit. Skills tell us what people can contribute. A job title can say assistant, manager, coordinator, analyst, or specialist, but title doesn't always reveal the real capacity of the person. Someone in operations may have excellent data skills. Someone in customer service may understand automation tools. Someone in administration may be very good at process improvement. Someone in sales may have strong digital communication skills. If the company only looks at job descriptions, it may miss the talent that it was already achieved. This is where the idea of the skills footprint becomes central. A skills footprint is like a map of the knowledge, competencies, abilities, certifications, experiences, and behavioral capabilities that currently exist inside the organization. It is not only a list of employees, it is a map of what the organization can actually do. This skills footprint includes technical skills such as programming, accounting, engineering, data analysis, or legal knowledge. It also includes digital skills such as using collaborative platforms, managing digital tools, understanding cybersecurity bases, or applying artificial intelligence responsibility. It includes human skills such as communication, empathy, problem solving, creativity, negotiation, and teamwork. It includes leadership skills, innovation capabilities, role specific expertise, and transferable competencies. Transferable competencies are especially important because they can move from one role to another. For example, a person who knows how to analyze information, communicate clearly, and solve problems can probably adapt to many different roles. In a changing labor market, for example, these transferable skills become extremely valuable because they allow employees to move, grow, and adapt. The skills footprint matters because it allows leaders to see the real talent capacity of the organization. It shows not only who is employed, but what the organization is actually capable of doing. Sometimes companies believe they need to hire externally because they do not realize that some of the skills they need already exist internally. The problem is that those skills are invisible, unrecognized, or disconnected from strategic opportunities. For example, an employee may have learned data visualization in a previous job, but their current role doesn't require it. Another employee may have experience with project management, but the company has never asked. Another may be interested in artificial intelligence, has taken online courses, and could become a useful internal trainer, but no one knows. Mapping the skills footprint helps reveal this hidden potential. However, mapping current skills must be done carefully. The first question is, what skills do we already have? To answer this, the organization can use employee skills inventories, self assessments, manager assessments, performance review data learning that can help to manage system records, also certifications, qualifications, project experience analysis, AI supported talent analysis, and internal talent marketplaces. But I always insist on one ethical warning. Skills mapping should not become a surveillance exercise. It should not feel like the company is collecting information in order to punish, replace, or eliminate people. It should be presented as development opportunity. People are more willing to reveal what they can do when they trust that the organization wants to develop them, not replace them. This is essential. If employees feel that skills mapping is a hidden mechanism for layoffs, they may hide information, exaggerate abilities, or resist the process. But if they understand that skills mapping can open opportunities for learning, promotion, mobility, and professional growth, they are more likely to participate honestly. After mapping current skills, the next step is to define the future skills model. Here, the organization asks, where do we want to be? A future skills model identifies the capabilities the organization will need in the next 3 to 5 years according its strategic direction. For example, if the company wants to become more digital, it may need data literacy, AI literacy, cybersecurity, awareness, process automation, digital collaboration, project management, design thinking, innovation management, change leadership, and obviously ethical judgment in technology use. These skills are not abstract, they are connected to real business needs. Data literacy means that employees can read, interpret, question, and use data in decision making. AI literacy means that the employees understand what artificial intelligence can do, what it cannot do, and what risk it creates. Cybersecurity awareness means that people understand that digital security is not only the responsibility of the IT department. Process automation means that employees can identify representative or repetitive tasks that may be improved through technology. Digital collaboration means that the teams can work effectively across platforms, locations, and time zones. But the future skills model should not be copied from another company. This is very important. Every organization has its own strategic its own strategy, market, culture, technology, and innovation goals. A hotel chain, a university, a hospital, a bank, a logistics company, and a technology startup may all need digital skills, but not in the same way. The future skills model must reflect the real identity and direction of the organization. Once the company understands the current skills footprint and defines the future skills model, the most important comparison begins. Workforce planning becomes powerful when organizations compare today's skills with tomorrow's needs. This comparison reveals the skills strengths, skills shortage, skills at risk of becoming obsolete, emerging roles, roles that may be redesigned, areas where employees can be reskilled, and areas where external hiring may be necessary. I like to explain this with a simple framework. First, what skills do we have? Second, what skills we need? Third, what skills are missing? Fourth, which skills can be developed internally? Fifth, which skills require hiring or partnership? Sixth, which roles may be transformed by automation or artificial intelligence? This process changes the way we see the skills gap. A skills gap is not only a problem, it is also a map for strategic investment. If we know where the gap is, we know where to invest in training, mentoring, technology, hiring, partnerships, or redesigning work. Digital transformation is one of the strongest drivers of this process. It changes not only tools, but also workflows, decision making, customer expectations, and organizational culture. When a company becomes digital, work does not remain the same. Communication changes, timelines become faster, customers expect immediate responses. Data becomes more important, collaboration becomes more fluid, mistakes become more visible, learning must become continuous. Digital transformation requires the development of new technical capabilities, but it also demands faster learning cycles because knowledge becomes outdated very quickly in changing environments. It encourages cross-functional collaboration because innovation usually happens when different areas of the organization work together rather than in isolation. It also requires greater adaptability, more ethical and data informed decision making, and a culture that is willing to tolerate experimentation, learn from mistakes, and improve continuously. This connects with innovation. Peter Drucker famously argued that innovation is the specific instrument of entrepreneurship. In workforce terms, this means organizations need people who can identify opportunities, question routines, and create value from change. Innovation is not only the responsibility of a research and development department, it must become a shared capability across the organization. This is maybe why workforce planning must include innovation capabilities. Can employees identify problems? Can they suggest improvements? Can they collaborate across departments? Can they test new ideas? Can they learn from failure? Can they adapt when a process changes? These questions matter because innovation is not only about technology, it is also about mindset. Now, When we bring automation and artificial intelligence into the conversation, we must be realistic but not dramatic. Automation and AI will not affect all roles in the same way. Some roles may be displaced, some may be redesigned, and many will be augmented. Repetitive tasks may be automated. Administrative processes may become faster. Data analysis may be supported by AI tools. Customer service may combine human support with chatbots. Creative and professional roles may use AI as a copilot. Decision making may become more data driven, but also more ethically complex. The important point is that AI may eliminate some tasks before it eliminates full jobs. That is why organizations should analyze work at the task level, not only at the job title level. A job is usually made of many tasks. Some tasks are repetitive and predictable. Others require judgment, empathy, creativity, negotiation, or ethical reasoning. AI may transform part of the job without completely replacing the person. For example, in finance, an employee may spend less time entering data and more time interpreting trends, advising managers, and detecting risks in human resources. AI may help screen information for or identify patterns, but human judgment is still needed to understand culture, motivation, fairness, and ethical implications. In customer service, chatbots may answer simple questions, but complex emotional situations still require human sensitivity. In education, AI may support content creation, but teaching skills require presence, interpretation, empathy, and guidance. The roles most exposed to automation are usually those based on repetitive, rule based predictable, data heavy transactional, and easily standardized tasks. These can include basic administrative support, data entry, routine reporting, scheduling, basic customer inquiries, repetitive finance tasks, or standardized document processing. However, displacement is not the only possible outcome. Many roles will be redesigned. A responsible organization should not begin with the question, who can we replace? It should begin with a more human and strategic question, how can work be redesigned so that technology improves human contribution? There are the three possible scenarios. The first is that automation, where technology performs the task instead of the worker. The second one is augmentation, where technology helps the worker perform better. The third is transformation, where the role changes substantially and requires new competences. For me, augmentation is one of the most important ideas. AI can help people work faster, analyze more information, reduce repetitive tasks, and support decision making. But this only works if employees are trained to use AI critically. AI should not replace human thinking, it should support it. Employees must learn to question outputs, verify information, protect confidentiality, identify bias, and make ethical decisions. That is why I like the phrase technology should remove unnecessary friction from work, not remove human dignity from the workplace. In other words, technology should help people do more meaningful work. It should not be used only as an excuse to dehumanize organizations. This brings us to reskilling and upskilling the process. For example, upskilling means helping employees improve or deepen skills for their current or evolving role. Reskilling means preparing employees to move into a different role because their current role is changing, declining, or disappearing. A new example: if a customer service employee learns to use AI assisted CRM tools, that is upskilling. The person remains in a similar role but performs it with new digital capabilities. If a data entry employee is trained for data quality analysis, that is reskilled because the person is moving toward a different kind of contribution, well, we are talking about reskilling. If a production work learns to monitor automated systems, that is also reskilling. If the manager learns to learn hybrid AI supported terms, that is also upskilling. But reskilling should not be treated as a symbolic training course. It is not enough to give employees a 2-hour webinar and say they are prepared for the future. Real reskilling requires time, coaching, practice, mentoring, feedback, and obviously a real pathway into a new work. If there is a new opportunity to apply the new skill, the training becomes theoretical and quickly disappears. This is where the talent management becomes a strategic response. Talent management helps organizations optimize existing skills and competencies instead of assuming that every future need must be solved through external hiring. Hiring, yes, we know it's important, of course, but it is not always the first or best answer. Sometimes the most sustainable source of future talent is the talent already inside the organization. We have already discussed it in our last session. Talent management practices can support workforce planning through competency frameworks. It happens too with performance management, career pathing, or internal mobility succession, planning, coaching, mentoring, learning, and development talent. But well, what do you think until this point? What do you believe? If the workforce planning works? A competency framework helps define what skills and behaviors are expected. Performance management helps identify strengths and areas for development. Career, career pathing helps employees see possible futures inside the organization. Internal mobility allows people to move from one area to another. Succession planning prepares future leaders. Coaching and mentoring help employees translate learning into real performance. Learning and development create structured opportunities for growth. To optimize existing skills, organizations need to create a skills inventory that makes capabilities visible, and it happens across all the departments. They can also use internal talent marketplaces where employees participate in projects beyond their former role. This is useful because people can demonstrate skills that may not appear in their job descriptions. Organizations should also link learning to a strategy. Training should not be random, it should be connected to the real direction of the business. If the company wants to become more data, I don't know, more close to learning programs, should build like data literacy. If the company wants to implement automation, employees should learn process analysis and digital tools. If the company wants to innovate, employees should learn creative problem solving, experimentation, and collaboration. Another important step is to reward adaptability. Many companies say they value learning, but they only reward short term output. If organizations truly want transformation, they must recognize employees who learn, collaborate, improve process, and help others adapt. Coaching is also essential. Courses can introduce concepts, but coaching helps people apply those concepts into real situations. A person may understand AI in theory but still need support to use this information with responsibility in their daily work. A manager may know what digital transformation means but still need coaching to lead a team through uncertainty. Finally, organizations must measure progress. They should track skill acquisition, internal mobility, productivity, engagement, retention, and the impact of learning on performance. Measurement should not be used only for control, it should be used to understand whether the organization is actually becoming more capable. At the end, I would say that workforce planning in the age of artificial intelligence must be strategic, evidence based, and deeply human. It requires tracking the skills footprint, comparing it with the future needs, anticipating the impact of automation, and investing seriously in reskilling and upskilling. But beyond all the technical concepts, there is a human message. Digital transformation is not only a technological journey, it is a human transition. People may feel excited, but they may also feel afraid. They may wonder whether their skills are still valuable, whether their jobs are safe, or whether they can adapt quickly enough. A responsible organization must recognize those emotions. The organizations that will succeed are not necessarily those with the most advanced tools. They will be the organizations that know how to prepare, support, and develop their people. Because the future of work will not be built by technological alone. It will be built by people who are ready to learn, adapt, and lead change with intelligence, responsibility, and dignity.